The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. It ruled the stars through votes, trade deals, and endless meetings. Every planet with advanced life joined it, except one. Earth. At first, the Council had sent greetings. Then invitations. Later, demands. All went unanswered. Earth remained silent. At every meeting, Earth's name would come up. Some called it a joke. Others, a backwater world. Maybe they're too primitive, one ambassador laughed. Maybe they don't know how to build a proper transmitter, another joked. But not everyone laughed. Old Chancellor Varric of this interspecies never smiled during those jokes. His wrinkled blue face always stayed serious. He had read the ancient archives reports of Earth's past wars, their survival on a death world, their rapid rise. Never mock the quiet ones, he often warned. Especially not the ones from Death World 3. No one listened, and Earth stayed silent. Years passed. Treaties were signed. Wars broke out and ended. Entire planets were destroyed over minor insults. But Earth still no answer. Not a single ship, not a single signal. It was as if the humans didn't care about the galaxy at all. Then, on a day like any other, everything changed. Kavos Prime, the current host planet of the Galactic Council, sat in a peaceful system. It was known for its calm skies, clear air, and 3 golden moons. That day, the Council was preparing for another meeting. Delegates from over 400 species had arrived. But then, the sky turned dark. It didn't happen slowly. It happened like a curtain being pulled over the stars. First, the Council's satellites blinked out. Then, communication towers stopped working. Panic began to grow in the meeting chamber. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Ships were entering orbit. Thousands. They came without a warning. No broadcast, no signal, no negotiation. Just black shadows sliding into position above the planet. Huge vessels with smooth hulls, sharp weapon ports, and glowing red engines. They were silent, motionless, watching. They're human, someone gasped. It's Earth. Impossible, another delegate shouted. Earth has no fleet. They've been silent forever. But it was true. The markings on the ships were clear. Old Earth flags, updated with a new symbol, an eagle standing on a shattered star. It was both beautiful and terrifying. One Zorvani commander tried to send a warning signal. His message never went through. Earth's fleet had jammed the entire system. Inside the council chamber, fear gripped every being. Then a message came through. Audio only. A deep, calm voice echoed across every screen and speaker. This is Commander Holt, Terran Fleet. Earth has arrived. Just 7 words. That was all. And silence again. But those 7 words were louder than 1,000 speeches. Chancellor Varric stood slowly. The others looked at him. I warned you, he whispered. They were not ignoring us. They were watching, listening, preparing. But why now? Someone asked. Why show up with warships? Varric's eyes darkened. Because they're not here to talk. The council tried to organize a response. Some species prepared defenses. Others suggested apologies. But it was too late. The skies were already full of Terran steel. From the surface, they looked like falling stars frozen in place. Silent, massive, unmoving, each one a symbol of power. The people of Kavos Prime ran into shelters. Children cried. Leaders shouted. Soldiers froze. No one had seen anything like this before. Earth still didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. Their silence now spoke louder than the council's years of noise. New chapter had begun. And the galaxy, once confident and united, was now holding its breath under the shadows of 1,000 Terran warships. Asterisk Kavos Prime skies were no longer golden. The glow of its 3 moons was gone, hidden behind the steel giants floating above. The warships didn't move. They didn't speak. They just hovered, blocking out sunlight, blocking out stars, and filling the sky with fear. Inside the Council's main dome, panic had broken order. Species that once claimed to be brave were now shouting over each other. Messages from planetary leaders flooded the screens. Every city on Kavos was looking up at the sky and asking the same question, why is Earth here? The delegates had no answer. They had insulted Earth for years, laughed at its silence, ignored its absence. But now, 1,000 Terran ships surrounded them, and not a single alien weapon was locked in defense. Earth had arrived not just with force, but with complete control. A second message came through dot text only. You are not under attack, but you are being watched. It was signed with a symbol 3 stars in a triangle and 1 human eye in the center. The Council's military arm, the Varnuk Defense Fleet, launched patrol drones to get closer to the Terran ships. The drones didn't return. No explosion. No trace. Just gone. Council Commander Urin slammed his clawed hand on the table. This is intimidation. A hostile move. We must respond. Respond with what? Chancellor Varek said calmly. We spent centuries fighting each other. Earth spent that time preparing for this. Another delegate shouted, maybe they're bluffing. Maybe the ships are empty. As if hearing that doubt, 1 Terran ship moved. It rotated slowly, revealing massive plasma batteries the size of city buildings. Its engine hummed so deeply, it shook the glass on the Council dome. Still, not a single shot was fired. Back on the surface, people began running through streets, trying to leave cities, hiding in shelters. Parents covered their children's eyes. Priests of all faiths began praying. They had never known war on this world. And now, war had arrived, but hadn't said a word. 1 brave news drone from a Kavo station floated up, broadcasting a live image of the nearest Terran flagship. Its name appeared on the screen, TSV Revelation. Underneath, in smaller human letters, were the words, We spoke in silence. The ship was cold and black, covered in armor so thick it looked more like a mountain than a machine. Lights blinked slowly across its surface like a heartbeat. The drone zoomed in. There were windows. Shadows moved behind them. Humans. Thousands of them. They weren't hiding anymore. Suddenly, without warning, the flagship transmitted a full video message to the Council. A human appeared on every screen. He had short gray hair, sharp eyes, and a face without emotion. His uniform was dark, with a small Earth emblem on his chest. He stood tall and quiet. I am Commander Holt, he said, his voice calm and deep. You sent 1,000 messages. We received them all. We replied with silence. You chose to mock that silence. He paused. Now we choose to speak with presence. Behind him, a large screen showed a map of the galaxy. Dozens of human ships were marked surrounding not just Kavos, but other Council systems. This is not a war, Holt continued. This is a reminder. Earth watches. Earth remembers. Earth does not beg. Then the video ended. No more transmissions came. The Council chamber fell into stunned silence. No one moved. No one dared speak. Commander Holt's message was simple, but the message behind it was terrifying. Earth was here, not to destroy, but to make the galaxy listen. Chancellor, Marek slowly stood and looked at the others. You wanted Earth to speak, he said softly. Now their ships do the talking. And above Kavos, the shadows of Terran warships remained silent, still, and terrifying. They didn't need to fire a single weapon. Their presence was the message. Asterisk. The Council chamber remained quiet long after the human message ended. No one laughed now. No one called Earth primitive. No one dared speak above a whisper, because now they understood. The silence wasn't ignorance. It was intention. And Earth had been listening the entire time. in a dark meeting room beneath the council dome. Top-level members gathered for a secret emergency session. The room was sealed. No cameras, no recordings. Just fear and confusion behind every alien face. How did Earth build all that? Without anyone knowing? Hissed the representative of the Tralka species. That fleet, those weapons, they're beyond our understanding. It's not possible, another said. They were supposed to be behind us by at least 200 years. They weren't behind, Chancellor Varric corrected. They were just watching us from the shadows. He tapped his tablet. A large screen lit up with classified files, intelligence reports, images, scans from across the galaxy. Look at this, Varric said. The screen showed dozens of images, strange signals, hidden construction sites, and ships that vanished without trace, all connected to Earth. They built in the outer systems, Varric continued, in places we thought were empty. They mapped old hyperlanes we lost long ago. They used silence as cover. And we laughed at them. A young aide entered the room and handed a fresh data slate to the Chancellor. His eyes widened as he read the report. It wasn't just Earth ships around Kavos. They were around 10 other council planets, and still more were on the move. We're surrounded, he whispered. Back in orbit, inside the Terran flagship TZV Revelation, Commander Holt stood with his officers. The room was calm. No one panicked. Everything moved with purpose. A younger officer, Lieutenant Brand, approached. Sir, he said, their sensors tried scanning us again. Do you want us to respond? No need, Holt replied. They'll learn nothing useful. The officer hesitated. Do you think they'll surrender, sir? Commander Holt looked out the window at the golden planet below. No, he said. They don't understand what Earth really is. Not yet. He turned to a nearby console and pulled up a galactic timeline. For 80 years, Earth had stayed silent. Why? Because they had seen the truth. The council wasn't peaceful. It was corrupt. They made rules and broke them when it suited their own. They taxed weaker worlds, stole from young civilizations, and fought senseless wars over pride and greed. Earth had no interest in joining that circus. Instead, they prepared. While the galaxy argued over language laws, Earth cracked faster than light. Encryption. While species fought over borders, Earth built silent shipyards on asteroid fields no one dared visit. While the Council debated how to control others, Earth trained its people not for war, but for something deeper. Dominance without destruction. Now, with the fleet above Kavos, Earth had stepped from the shadows, not to ask permission, but to show what happens when silence ends. Below, chaos spread. On every news channel, the human ships filled the skies. Journalists begged for answers. Scientists admitted they didn't understand the human tech. Religious leaders called it a test from the stars. Soldiers waited for orders that never came. The Terran fleet just stayed there. Not attacking, not demanding, just watching. And that was somehow worse. Back in the council chamber, one delegate from the Creel species leaned toward Chancellor Varric and whispered, "Should we offer them a seat at the council?" Varric shook his head. "No, they're not asking for a seat." "Then what do they want?" the delegate asked. Varric looked up at the dark sky through the dome's glass. "Ceiling. They want us to know," he said slowly, "that we never had control to begin with." Later that night, one brave news drone was allowed to enter the outer area of the flagship TSV Revelation. It scanned the outer hall, reading the names of other ships nearby. TSV Silent Watch, TSV Just Cause, TSV Eye of Earth, TSV Pale Star, TSV Judgment. Each name echoed something. Powerful. Not war. But warning. The Terrans hadn't come to fight. They had come to remind the galaxy that Earth never needed their approval. And for the first time in centuries, The galaxy realized how wrong they had been. Earth's silence wasn't weakness. It was patience. Asterisk. Kavos Prime hadn't seen a sunrise in 2 days. The massive Terran fleet still hovered above, blocking out light, shadowing cities and oceans alike. Most of the population had gone underground. Stores closed. Flights grounded. All communication was being watched. No one said it aloud, but everyone knew it was true. The council leaders met again, this time surrounded by armed guards. They had tried to reach the humans, sent messages, asked for talks, begged for answers. Still, silence. Until now. Without warning, the council's main chamber lights dimmed. Every holoscreen flickered. A cold digital tone buzzed through the yawning air. Delegates froze mid-sentence. Then came the voice. Calm. Human. Male. This is Commander Holt of the Terran Space Command. Transmission begins now. A glowing blue hologram appeared above the center table. A life-sized projection of a man in a black and silver uniform. He looked directly ahead, his eyes sharp, his expression unreadable. No music, no symbols, no flags, only one voice and thousands watching in fearful silence. I am not here to answer your calls, Holt began. I am not here to apologize for Earth's silence. He paused. We listened, we watched, and we remembered. Delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Holt's voice wasn't loud, but it had weight, like every word carried history. You laughed at us, you dismissed us, you labeled us backwards and slow. You assumed Earth was too weak to matter. You were wrong. He waved one hand slightly, and the hologram behind him changed. Images filled the air-secret council meetings, rigged votes, intercepted transmissions showing deals made in the shadows, bribery, exploitation, lies. Earth had been recording everything. You called yourselves rulers of peace, Holt said, but we saw the truth. Now the projection showed battlefields, council forces destroying minor colonies, civilizations crushed in the name of order, trade blockades that starved entire planets. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Some delegates looked away. Others clenched fists or lowered their heads. You used your power to control. To silence those who spoke differently. To crush those who rose too fast. The image shifted again. This time, it was Earth. Cities glowing with light. Giant orbiting stations. Ships assembling in perfect order. And finally, deep in space, Earth's silent armada, hundreds of warships being built in black zones no one had ever scanned. We said nothing. Holt continued. Not because we were afraid, but because we knew what you were. A long silence followed. No one dared interrupt. Then Holt stepped forward in the hologram. His face grew sharper. His tone turned colder. You will not question why Earth is here. You will not fire another warning shot. You will not spy on our ships. He raised his hand slightly. Or you will face the answer to your arrogance. At that moment, a deep hum echoed through the chamber. Everyone looked up. Outside the dome, one of the Terran ships above the city began to shift. Its underbelly opened, slowly revealing a massive rotating core glowing with red-blue light. Energy. Built up. Fast. Furious. But it didn't fire. It just hovered, charged and ready. The message was clear. One shot. One ship. That's all Earth needed. Holt's voice returned, now quieter. Earth does not come to rule. We come to end the game. He nodded once, and the hologram blinked out. Silence fell again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This time, it was filled with fear. Chancellor Varric finally stood. His old bones shook slightly as he looked around the room. It's not about war, he said. It's about truth, and Earth just delivered it. A young delegate whispered, What do we do now? Varek's answer was simple. We listen. Outside, civilians peeked from underground shelters. Cameras captured the glowing ship still watching from above. The words of Commander Holt repeated endlessly across news streams. You will not question why Earth is here. You will not fire another warning shot. And everywhere across the galaxy, species who once mocked Earth now ask the same question: what will the Terrans do next? The message from Earth had been clear. Do not fire. Do not interfere. Just listen. But not everyone in the Galactic Council believed in silence anymore. Not in a cold military outpost high above Kavos. A group of angry commanders whispered behind closed doors. One of them, Commander Drow of the Euron species, slammed his hand on the table. This is madness, he shouted. We are the Council. We do not bow to threats. If we let Earth scare us into submission, what example do we set? His second in command, a quiet insectoid named Vera, tilted her head. They haven't fired once. Perhaps we should be careful. They haven't fired because they want us to beg, Drow growled. Well, I don't beg. He turned to the comms officer. Lock onto their lead ship. Charge a warning shot. The officer hesitated. But sir, Commander Holt said, I don't care what he said. Fire above their hull. Make it loud. Make it clear. The order was given. Seconds later, one of the Council's last defense cruisers rose into orbit. Its weapons glowed bright blue. The entire planet watched Dot, and then a warning shot was fired. A blast of energy soared just meters above the Terran flagship TSV Revelation. It didn't hit. It wasn't meant to, but it was a message. And Earth responded. No alarm sounded, no weapons charged. No ships turned. Only one thing happened. The sky blinked. It happened so fast, many thought they imagined it. The light above flickered. And in the next moment the Council cruiser was gone. Not destroyed. Erased. There was no explosion. No fire. No falling debris. Just a void where the cruiser had been. Commander Holt had not moved. His fleet had not shifted. But the message was deafening. In the Council dome, silence fell like a hammer. Commander Drawl, still watching from the outpost, stood frozen, his face pale. He reached for a communicator. I didn't mean, it was just a shot. But no reply came. The outpost's signal was jammed. Locked out. Cut off. Above him, a single Terran ship moved directly into position over the station. DRL looked up. And then the outpost lights failed. Back in the Council chamber, Chancellor Varek stood slowly. He faced the others, some trembling, some speechless. Others already rewriting their own laws in fear. Now you understand, he said quietly. They erased a warship. Without noise, without effort, with just one choice. A younger delegate tried to speak. Why didn't they destroy everything? Varek turned toward the sky, eyes tired. Because they don't need to. Across Kavos, millions watched the G. News as the footage repeated again and again. 1 second. The Council ship was there. Next second. Nothing. The image became history's most replayed recording. The caption read simply, Earth responded. Inside TSV Revelation, Commander Holt stood before a black screen. One of his officers stepped forward. Confirmation. Cruiser removed. No further action taken? Status of the outpost? Holt asked. Powerless. Message received. Commander. Holt nodded once. Good. Remind them we are not here for war. We are here to finish the lies. Back in the Council chamber, a transmission came through. One line, audio only. First and final warning. Earth will not repeat itself. That night, 10 Council planets declared a state of surrender, not from war, but from fear. Ships pulled back. Fleets were disbanded. Diplomats sent apologies. Not because Earth had asked for it, but because Earth had done the unthinkable. It had shown the galaxy what true restraint looked like and what silence could unleash. The stars were quiet again. The Terran fleet remained in orbit, unmoving, like black mountains hanging in the sky. No sound, no more warnings, and yet the fear had only grown deeper. Every species that once ruled by fear now felt it for the first time. But what came next was not another weapon. It was a revelation. Chancellor Varric stood in the main chamber, surrounded by shocked leaders. The silence from Earth now felt heavier than any threat. He opened the newest message from the Terran flagship TSV Revelation. This time, it wasn't a demand. It was a data file. He played it, and the chamber lights dimmed as footage filled the air. The screen showed the planet Iris 4, 15 years ago. A small colony begging for help as pirates burned its farms and took its people. The Council had ignored the call. Too far, too small, too weak. The video zoomed in, revealing something in the smoke. A drone. Built. The humans had been there, silently recording the crimes. They hadn't interfered, but they hadn't forgotten either. Another scene played. An illegal council experiment on a Class 3 planet. Alien scientists testing chemical weapons on native species just to see how fast they'd die. Earth recorded it. Every scream, every act. They had sent no protests. No threats. Just watched. And waited. More images. More horrors. All committed by members of the Council. Wars hidden behind peace treaties. Bribes paid in silence. Innocent planets sold off in backroom deals. And every time, somewhere in the shadows, a small black probe watched it happen. Karen eyes. This can't be real, one council member whispered. But it was. Earth had known everything. They had not just been silent. They had been gathering truth for decades. And now they shared it all. Chancellor Varric turned to the others. We always thought we were the ones in control. But Earth never needed to control. They just needed patience. Another delegate stood up, her voice trembling. Why? Didn't they stop it? Why didn't they try to help those colonies? Varric looked at the fleet above them. They did, he said softly, by preparing. Not just to stop one crime, but to stop all of it forever. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Terran files were shared on public networks. On planet after planet, people watched the footage and realized what their own governments had hidden. Protests began. Some leaders were arrested. Some ran. The idea that Earth was silent because it didn't care was shattered. Earth cared too much to speak early. Now, when they finally spoke, it was with truth and terror together. Inside TSV Revelation, Commander Holt stood before his officers again. Status? He asked. Transmission complete. 30. Council worlds now broadcasting our evidence. Any resistance? None yet. Even their citizens are turning against them. Holt nodded. Good. This isn't about war. It's about removing the disease. He looked at the stars through the observation deck. They corrupted everything. We'll burn their lies clean with facts. Back on Kavos, the council chamber doors opened to a surprise. A human ambassador walked in. Not a soldier. Not a commander. Just a woman in a dark Earth uniform. Quiet, calm, and carrying a small device. The guards didn't stop her. No. One moved. She placed the device on the table. Flickered to life and displayed one sentence in hundreds of languages. We do not conquer. We correct. She bowed once, then left. No guards. No escort. Just silence. That small sentence echoed louder than any fleet. Across the stars, a galaxy began to change. The question was no longer, why is Earth here? Now it was, how long? Have they been watching me? And that question was far more terrifying, because suddenly, everyone felt exposed. Asterisk. The stars had grown quiet not from fear, but from realization. For centuries, the Galactic Council thought they ruled everything. Their laws, their ships, their power. But it all crumbled the moment Earth decided to speak. And the most terrifying part, Earth didn't raise its voice. It simply arrived. On the planet Kavos, for the first time in history, the Council canceled all meetings. Delegates stopped arguing. Leaders stopped bluffing. Fleets stopped moving. Outside, the sky still burned with Terran shadows. Their ships had not fired, not destroyed cities, not made demands, but their silence now meant something entirely different. Not ignorance, not arrogance, but authority. Inside the council chamber, Chancellor Varric stood before the others, his face calm, his voice steady. He looked at the empty chair in the center of the room. No one sat there anymore. That chair used to belong to the leader of the council, the one who led the meetings, the one who ruled the stars. But now, it was just empty. And no one wanted to sit there. Because everyone knew Earth already had news. Feeds across the galaxy kept replaying the same scenes. The Terran fleet entering orbit without a sound. A single council ship vanishing like dust. Human. Data revealing decades of truth. And a quiet ambassador placing one small sentence on the council table. We do not conquer. We correct. Children in distant systems began whispering stories of the Watchers from Earth. Farmers on trade planets stopped sending crops to corrupt leaders and sent them to the poor instead. Minor colonies began rewriting their local laws based on Terran examples. Something had changed, not through war, but through witnessing true power. On the fourth day, something unexpected happened. The Terran ships moved, not forward, not into attack formations. They turned away. One by one, they broke orbit, drifting like silent giants back into deep space. No threats. No speech. No goodbye. Just dash departure. By the end of the day, only one ship remained. The TSV Revelation. Inside, Commander Holt stood on the observation deck with his officers. The message has been delivered, one of them said quietly. Holt nodded. Then let them decide what comes next. He looked down at Kavos one last time. They wanted Earth to speak, he said. We did. And now they'll listen in ways they never did before. Back in the Council Dome, the final message from Earth played on every screen. Just a short video. Holt standing alone, no weapons, no orders. Just words. We came not to destroy, but to remind you that silence is not absence, that watching is not weakness, and that Earth speaks only when it must. You wanted a voice. What you got was truth. Then the screen went dark. And at that moment, the TSV Revelation jumped into hyperspace. Gone. The galaxy sat in stunned silence for days. Ships didn't move. Systems held their breath. But then, slowly, something else happened. Planets began changing their governments. Systems held open trials. Former warlords were arrested. Victims of council corruption were finally heard. And in the skies of dozens of worlds, statues began to rise, not of warriors, but of watchers. Eyes carved in black stone. Underneath each one, a message. So Earth watched. Years later, the galaxy would tell stories about a time when Earth said nothing, then appeared with 1,000 warships, and left without ever firing a war. Because sometimes the most terrifying power is not in the shout. It's in the silence that follows it. Asterisk.